Okay, hello. Welcome to today's webcast on optimizing Microsoft Dynamics and more specifically on the things you need to know before deploying a BI solution. I'm Jason Gumpert, and joining us for today's event is Gina Pabalon, Director of Support and Optimization Services at Edgewater Full Scope. As we get started today, please know that we do invite you to add your feedback and ask questions during the presentation. You can use the Q&A block that you should see to the right of the slides to ask your questions. So without further delay, please allow me to welcome Gina.
Hi, Jason. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent.
And why don't I try to give you slide control here just to see if
okay.
you'll be able to sort of drive those here.
Okay.
So let me know when you change slides, and I'll verify that for you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not able to do that. So why don't you go ahead and just drive for me?
Will do.
So good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Gina Pabalon, and we here at Edgewater Full Scope work with a lot of AX customers in the space, and my team basically supports our customers as they come off of their implementation, and we help our customers to support just the break-fix stuff and then take their implementation of AX to the next level. And obviously, business intelligence is a huge part of that. Go ahead, Jason, and there we go. So at a very high level, what is BI? BI is a set of methodologies, processes, and technologies that are going to transform raw transactional data, like the one sitting in your ERP system, and we're going to turn that into meaningful and useful information to help you with your decision-making processes. But don't worry, this is not going to all be theoretical discussion. We're going to get into exactly what is available to you as an AX customer. We're going to talk about some of the challenges and best practices on getting that delivered. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the vendor landscape around Dynamics AX, because as we know, there are quite a few vendors out there that are also selling BI in the AX space. Go ahead, Jason. So a lot of times what we hear after an implementation goes live, the CFO, the CEO looks at the IT guy and says, okay, now that AX is installed, go ahead and turn those role centers on and go ahead and turn those cubes on that the software demo guy demoed to me when we first made this investment in AX, and I'm ready to see what kind of reporting I have. And, you know, what I think sometimes people underestimate is really kind of the footprint of BI. And if you look at the BI technology stack, and frankly, if you ask 10 people, you might get 10 different answers. BI is more than just turning cubes on, right? You've got you've got the infrastructure component where you've got to really look at server capacities and your network and storage, and you really need to look at this underlying infrastructure to support BI. The other is the data discovery and integration piece, and this could be, you know, you're going to leverage the perspectives provided by AX, which I'll explain later. You're going to build a data mart. Are you going to, how are you going to be leveraging SSRS? And understanding the tools and capabilities and really doing that data discovery and integration piece, which is also referred to as extract, transform, and load, ETL. The next layer is the data itself. You know, we hear a lot about OLAP and multidimensional analytics and SSRS, which is SQL Server Analytics Services. You know, these are great analytical tools, but you don't necessarily need to deploy BI on top of an OLAP multidimensional data warehouse. So there are a lot of companies that are taking that normalized data in ERP and just putting it in more of a relational database, denormalizing that data set so it's a little bit more manageable and better formatted from a reporting purpose, getting that data out of the ERP system for reporting, in other words. Then you have the reporting layer. So the reporting layer, again, what do you want to do with your BI solution? Is it ad hoc reporting, operational reporting, analytical reporting, your dash? There's a lot that you need to consider around BI, and there may be multiple ways of serving information up to users in your whole BI kind of model for your company. Analytics, don't forget about analytics. You've got predictive analytics, statistical capabilities, the whole idea of time intelligence in order to view and report on your data either week over week, month over month, 3 months rolling average, year over year, 12-month rolling average, those types of things. And then performance management, so your metrics and scorecards. How are you going to populate that budget so that you can measure how you're doing your actuals against plan? And that sort of framework needs to be kind of thought through. And then finally, delivery. How are we going to serve that information up to your user community and the management team that really relies on this information? Is it through Enterprise Portal and SharePoint or the role centers? Is it through kind of a mobile device? You're going to try to have some mobile capability there. Desktop, social collaboration and alerts. How much of that do you see building into the delivery of the BI capability? So again, there's a lot to BI than just turning, a few cubes on that Microsoft delivers to you. Go ahead, Jason. Thanks. So the other misnomer is that there are a lot of customers with an expectation that you should have BI as soon as you go live. And, the reality is that just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen because you're in the middle of an ERP transformational project. For those of you who may have implemented 2012 recently and you did it as an RTM, early adopter 2012, you had your hands full. I mean, but any ERP project is going to be very intense. You're transforming all your core business processes, and you want to make sure when you flip that switch, you can take orders from customers, ship that product, invoice customers, collect cash, and do all the basic blocking and tackling of an ERP system. And yes, you will have some phase one operational reporting that is just critical to the operations of your business that will be delivered. But in regards to really designing and executing on a BI strategy, probably is not so practical. You're going to want a period of stabilization. All customers go through a stabilization period. You cannot implement ERP perfectly. Nobody can. There will be issues. It's just a matter of, how long it's going to take to work through those issues. And the reason why, and if you did implement it perfectly, you would have probably spent, 80% more than you spent, because it's like that whole 80-20 rule. The last bit of perfection in your ERP project costs, 80% of the project. But all companies go through this, but once you get stabilized, now you're really in a place to really take ERP to that next level, right? And we work with customers and not only getting them stable, but then taking them and realizing their BI strategy. We could do MRP optimization, and we do a lot, just beyond that. But we got to get you stable first before we can really reap all the benefits and rewards of this massive investment that you've made in AX. Thanks. So I'm going to cover certain key components of Microsoft's BI stack because, and many of you maybe already know this, but I just want to just cover it just so that everybody has a kind of baseline understanding of the components, right? So you have SSIS, which is Microsoft's tools that they provide for cleansing data, consolidating data, pulling data in from one source and bringing it into a data warehouse. SSAS. SSAS is the actual OLAP cube itself. And then, of course, SQL relational database is just another type of database, of course. Go ahead, Jason. Okay, so Microsoft, and I'm going to stop. I've got some more tools that Microsoft's delivering there, but just wanted to stop to say, you know, on the SSAS front, as you may know, Microsoft delivers, well, 20 predefined SSAS cubes for 2012. Okay, so they're out there. They did this because the data in AX is highly normalized and very, very difficult to report on the data as it sits in AX. So they've created these cubes to make it easier for customers to report on the data within the ERP system. And so this is of great value that they've done this for us. Go ahead, Jason. The other parts of the stack, SSRS, as you know, in 2012, for those of you who are on 2012, all the reporting has moved over to SSRS, which is a great thing for us in the ecosystem, the AX ecosystem, because you know, there are a lot of people that know how to develop reports in SSRS. Previous versions, you had to be an X++ developer. So this was a really good move on Microsoft's part. And it's kind of their key reporting tool, more of a you know, very kind of sophisticated end user, super user, and technical tool. You wouldn't give this to your, you know, accounting manager probably. Excel, Power Pivot, and Power Pivot, Power BI. This is really what Microsoft is hitting hard. I mean, the capability within the new releases of Excel are so powerful, and because Excel is a tool that, you know, people know and love and have used, and the user adoption rate's high and the learning curve's low, and so they've kind of latched on, as well as a lot of vendors have latched on to Excel as kind of the foundational tool to provide self-service reporting. And then there's SharePoint. Oops, nope. Go back up there, Jason. Not quite done. There you go. So then there's SharePoint. SharePoint is actually where the data is being served up, right? It's just SharePoint is your web-based user portal, if you will, and it could be in your company intranet. It could be, if you look at AX and the role centers, all role centers it's SharePoint. SharePoint sitting on, you know, that has basically been defined and configured unique to different roles, and they have 44 default roles. Some of the information sitting on those pages, on those web pages, some of them are just links back into AX as far as menu items within AX. Some of them, you know, are certain quick little SSRS list reports going directly at the AX database. And then there are some web parts on those role centers that actually depend on the cube, the underlying cube, to be configured, turned on, flushed out, validated, and actually operational before the data is actually going to push itself up through that role center. So that's another thing. Customers sometimes think, oh, we'll just turn those role centers on, well, not realizing that, you know, half the stuff on that role center depends on the underlying cubes to be actually operational. And it's not as easy as, again, just like loading up software. I mean, it's a process that you have to go through to get it flushed out and working and validated before the information that's going to surface on a role center is meaningful and correct. Go ahead, Jason. So this is kind of a visual of what I just kind of was talking about. Okay, so basically you've got, let me just see if I can get a pointer here. I don't know if this is going to annotate or not. Do I have a pointer without annotation?
I do see a mark that you made there.
Yes, I see that as well.
I think try the second item down. There's an arrow pointer.
The second item down there is an arrow,
on the left
pointer. And that's not going to annotate me to see that it does annotate. Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll be careful. So basically what you have here is you've got can you see my pointer right now? It's circling AX?
No.
No, okay. That's all right. So on the left side of the screen, okay, we have AX. And what Microsoft, again, has done is they've given you these 20, let's call it, predefined OLAP cubes. And the cubes actually, they're not really running off of SSIS, which is Microsoft's ETL tool. They're actually created a tool within AX, sort of to replace SSIS, if you will, and they've created these two, and they're pulling data directly through AX, and a perspective is not a database itself. They're just views of the data, and that's how they're building these 20 cubes, okay? And so basically then you end up with your 20 cubes down here. Now, you need a tool called BIDS, Business Intelligence Development Studio. BIDS is what you need in order to really manage the cube. And part of BIDS, you kind of have to know MDX programming language, okay? So the guys that know BIDS and know MDX programming language are probably different guys that know, or gals, that know AX and that know AX, X++, and understand the data schema within AX and really know AX. So there's usually going to be two different persons. Not to say that, you know, they aren't out there. There are a few out there that would know both, but it's very rare, really, to find somebody that really is a data architect and knows BIDS and knows MDX program and also happens to know AX. Then you've got the reporting side of it, okay? So now you've got your SSRS report. So if you were going to surface, notice the role center over here, if you were going to, say, surface a new web part on a role center and you're going to surface an SSRS report, you need to make sure that somebody's actually writing that SSRS report and knows how to write SSRS reports. That person, by the way, is probably a different person that knows how to manage in a BIDS environment. Okay, so now you've got, if the information is not on the role center, you need to go find somebody that knows SSRS and then to write the report. And if the guy that knows SSRS, if the data isn't in the cube the way you need it to be, or if it's not pulling the right data and you need to change the hierarchy or the data in the cube, now you're going to go find somebody over here to change the cube. And now if the guy that's changing the cube doesn't really understand the data model in AX over here, now you're going to go find an AX guy to tell you, you know, where the data might be sitting in AX so they can surface it up and bring it over into the cube so the guy can write the SSRS report so then the other guy that does the SharePoint work can surface that information up on a portal. Okay, so that sounds pretty complicated, doesn't it? And now we wonder why customers say, you know something, do me a favor, go into AX, dump this data into Excel and give it to me, and I'll just slice and dice and pivot and create my own charts. And that's what happens. And it's pervasive. People, they love Excel. You know, let me just avoid this whole process and all this complexity involved in pushing data out to a role center, you know, to be delivered, you know, in this way. And it's all really cool, but the problem is you know, if you need changes, there are latencies and, you know, challenges along the way. One of the biggest challenges, again, is finding the skill and the tools or the people to actually execute and make that happen. Because don't forget, you also need, in addition to all these technical people, you need a business user who kind of understands exactly what they want. And a lot of times when it comes to data, people don't always know what they want until, I mean, how do you know what you want until you know what you can get, right? So show me what's there and I'll tweak it along as I go along. So it's very, so that's why it's very, you know, can be challenging. And I wanted to make a note down here, which is, you know, information, again, within this transactional ERP system is highly normalized. You've got tables all over the place, and they're not always linked in a logical, from a business perspective, a logical way. Again, they're normalized because they're trying to make the ERP more scalable and more efficient for enterprise operations. They have not designed the database to make it easy for you to report. Okay, Jason, we're on to the next. Thanks. So why consider deploying a data warehouse at all? This just sounds all very complicated, doesn't it? There's a lot of reasons why you should consider a data warehouse. So first of all, you can consolidate data from multiple sources, apply business logic to get a common format, consistent meaning. Again, we just covered this point. You know, the data model within an ERP system is structured for performance and scalability, not to help you get reports out. Analytical queries on the database can be expensive in terms of database resources. A cube or a data warehouse that restructures and summarizes that data is going to have a much less impact on your production environment. Historical data, as you look to archive information, or if you are coming off a legacy system, or as you will see if you are even upgrading from one AX version to another, you may decide that leave the data behind and let's just, figure out what our critical information is that we want trending, sales, transactional history as an example, and let's leverage a data warehouse to do that. So, and then feed AX into it, and I've got, trending over time, and I'm not mucking up my ERP system, but I've got the reporting that I need, the trending reporting I need. You may have people that consume or need to consume the reports and the information that just simply don't have access to AX. And really, it's a longer-term ERP upgrade and deployment strategy. And I'm going to cover that in a little bit more detail, I think, in the next slide. Yeah, so this is a good one because we've been doing a lot of upgrades for customers, and we usually start with an upgrade assessment. And what's been making my head spin is the amount of time and effort and money being spent really on data migration or data upgrade and reporting. It consumes more than 60%. It will consume more than 60% of your upgrade project, and I'm going to cover why in a second. But what's happened is a lot of customers, on 2009 did not necessarily use a data warehouse. All their reporting came directly off of, AX 2009, off the production database. And they end up with, all this reporting, custom reporting, sometimes they're just modifications on existing reports. And what happens is, as they look to go to 2012, is all those reports have to be rewritten one by one because, first of all, AX has migrated, all reporting from X++ to SSRS. So if you've done a modification to one of their reports, you've got to start with the SSRS report and then re-implement the modification on it. And any of your custom reports are going to need to be done too. And one of the biggest reasons is that the data model within AX 2012 has changed dramatically. And if the data model changes dramatically, then guess what? Your reporting also has changed dramatically. Go ahead, Jason. Okay, as an example, these statistics, again, make my head spin. AX 4.0, 1,500 tables, and the X, is 4.0. AX 2009, 1,700 tables. 1,700 tables. 2012, 4,600 tables. So do you think that the data model has changed? Absolutely. Yes, it's not all attributable to data model changes. Obviously, the footprint of AX has expanded greatly. But just as an example, if you look at tables associated within AX related to items and products and inventory alone in 2009, you had 132 tables. In 2012 R3, you have 379 tables. They've almost tripled, right? They've almost tripled the number of tables to define items, products, and inventory alone. And again, if you think of what that means in terms of reporting, you'll see the impact of what I'm talking about here. And then the question becomes, do you think Microsoft is done changing their data model? And they're totally not. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. Expect change. Okay, with that, go ahead, Jason. All right. So what if, instead of all that reporting coming out of 2009, what if you had a data warehouse? Okay, what if you had this data warehouse sitting here, and all the reporting came off of that data warehousing, and your users basically are right here, the reports coming out. Users have a way of accessing the reports. They know how to run the reports. It's a data model, a reporting data model, not an ERP normalized, heavily normalized data model, but a reporting data model that makes sense for your unique company, one that only will change when you want it to change, not when Microsoft decides to do an upgrade. Okay, so now let's say you had that. When you move from 2009 to 2012, what you end up with is really just a data mapping exercise back from 2012. You do a one-time deal straight into your data warehouse, and all this stuff over here, okay, all this stuff over here is left unchanged for your users. So that in itself, in my mind, provides a great benefit and business case for a data warehouse, especially if you know that you're going to be upgrading and you'll continue to upgrade, and it's going to set a path for you for growth, and the cost of your upgrades would go down dramatically. And if you did this, not only the reporting would be a lot easier, but you wouldn't necessarily need to migrate or upgrade all that data from 2009 to 2012 either. Because you could tell the business, you know, you're going to get all the reporting you've always gotten, you're going to get all the trending, and you don't have to move data from 2009 and try to fit it into a 2012 data model, which again is dramatically different. Go ahead, Jason. Okay. So I get asked sometimes, hey, you know, there's so many tools out there and different ways of accessing data. We're confused. There's just too many tools to pick from. We're not even sure what tool to pick. And, you know, if you're an AX user and you've got an enterprise data warehouse, you're going to have, you know, you're going to have different paths to consuming information for sure. You know, if you're inside AX and you know, it talks about how it's delivered. You're delivering it from the AX client. I'm looking at the top one here, or the role center. You know, there are different reporting tools, right? If you've got AX reports sitting right in AX off an AX menu, which are kind of static operational reports. You have AX client tools. There are different AX client tools that are available, especially in 2012, that allow for, you know, you to create lists and do other, even the grid. I would argue that the grid is a form of BI and allows you to kind of slice and dice information. And again, it's delivering information in a different way to you for ad hoc kind of operational reporting. You might be also, you know, be using Management Reporter for statutory financial reporting, which, you know, sometimes, you know, depending on your legal reporting structure, may be a benefit to you. And then Excel. Excel, again, connected directly to AX through, you know, through the Microsoft tools or through Atlas or other tools that are available on the market as kind of an Excel add-in. So you can kind of see the types of reporting and kind of who might use those types of tools. And then you've got your dashboards, right? You've got a BI reporting tool for analytics. Again, you could use Excel, you know, either as a Power BI tool or through an add-in like Atlas that goes directly off of your enterprise data warehouse instead of AX. You've got SSRS as reporting tools. And you, again, kind of see the types of reporting and kind of who might use that report. So, again, I think the bottom line here is, you know, there is not a linear, single-threaded path of getting information to your users. They're going to have different tools at their disposal, and I think, you know, our job is to hopefully make sure people know what tools are available to them, and they're you know, using the ones that are right for the particular question that they've posed, and what kind of information they want to get back. Go ahead, Jason. Thanks. So we've got a couple pages of recommendations, and then I'm going to flip into the vendor ISV community. The first one, align expectation to the realities of a successful BI program. This is not a traditional like ERP project. People use information dynamically, they gather, they organize, and they interpret in cycles. So it's not like you can just, define how do we receive product, on the shipping dock. Well, on an ERP project, and that's a very simplistic example, but you can usually define your processes, fairly well up front. Yeah, there may be some tweaking, but for the most part, you can define your processes up front, where in BI, you really can. I mean, you can define kind of a high-level framework. You can define, your hierarchies and generalized dimensions that make, from a reporting perspective. But at the end of the day, your needs will change. They will evolve. Don't believe that there's a silver bullet. It does not exist. I mean, again, your AX salesperson probably went in and showed all the pretty charts and graphs and, oh, isn't this great, and this is what you can get when you buy AX. At the end of the day, those cubes are a starter. They probably are not going to give you everything you need, and 95% of the time they will need to be modified to meet the needs of your business. So you may find one cube that works really well for you, but honestly, they're not going to work out of the box. They're not industry specific, and they're meant to be examples and to demonstrate how the technology works together to deliver BI capability. None of the vendors have a silver bullet. None of them, even though, again, vendors will tell you that they do. They probably don't have the silver bullet. Do they have tools that are useful? Absolutely, and we'll cover that in a second. Seek a business leader with a vested interest in enterprise information. Honestly, this is not, this is not an IT project. For this to be super successful, you need a business leader that gets it, that gets BI, that understands the business and can articulate that to a team of. There are going to be a lot of technical people. Even when using vendor tools, you're still going to need technical people involved, but they generally aren't the ones that are driving the informational needs and strategy of a company, generally. Your BI solution, again, will evolve. Plan to invest in building skills internally. You don't want to depend on full scope or any partner to be responsible for making every change that you're going to need to make, and you will need to be making changes. So, and I think that's a consideration when you're looking at tools and which tools you think you want to employ in your company. You need to understand what those tools are and what level of skill set, and you need to have a commitment to invest in building those skills internally. You will be a lot more successful if you can be in control of your own destiny here. Find some quick wins and build on them. BI will be most successful with a series of rollouts, one building on the next. So again, this isn't something that it's going to be a big bang, here we go kind of thing. You're going to pilot in a different, in an area of the business, and you're going to build on that, and it's going to evolve. Again, building the skills internally so that you can support that. Jason, go ahead. Review out-of-the-box tools and design delivered by AX. Absolutely, look at it. Don't ignore it. I think by turning on one of those cubes and really understanding and how it all works and looking at what they're delivering there for you, I think is a great exercise to go through. Hopefully you pick something that can be, reused. Don't try the most complex, your sales. Maybe go for, something a little bit more, I don't know, the purchasing cube or something that's it's going to add value, but it's not so unmanageable that you're not going to be able to really get what you want. So, look through the cubes that are being delivered by Microsoft, turn one of them on, pick one that you think might be fairly straightforward with a limited user base, and see how that works for you and understand the tools and capabilities and see, because if you decide to look at the ISVs, and I do recommend that you consider ISVs because they do bring some value to the table. You know, you'll see you'll be in a better position to compare and contrast, you know, what Microsoft's delivering versus what the vendors are delivering versus what you as an organization are prepared to pony up to. Seek outside counsel from an independent partner to help with a selection. BI is very it's a misunderstood. It's mostly misunderstood, and I think, you know, having a partner in there to help, an independent third party to really kind of help you through understand your requirements and how the vendors match up to those requirements is really helpful. You know, and the biggest booth at the trade show does not equate to the best product for your organization. And frankly, there is no one best product for every organization out there. So you really do need to, you know, really understand, again, your skills, capability, and desire of where you want to be in your capability and the vendors. There are clear differences between all these vendors and what they're offering. When selecting a BI vendor, talk to as many customers as you can find, not just the ones that the vendor recommends. And again, leverage your ERP, your partner, your AX partner to help you find them. Because, I mean, I know with Full Scope we have over 100 customers, so there's a lot of good, you know, reference points out there for really all the vendors. Remember that the organization is as important as the tool. So someone may have a great tool, but if they don't have a good organization to support it, you need to, like, consider that. And don't forget about governance and operations of your BI solution. Okay, Jason, there we go. So with that, without much ado here, I will go ahead and just quickly go through the vendors to the best of my ability. Obviously, there's always changes and coming down the pike. This was most of this is pretty much up to date. I'm pretty confident that it's mostly accurate. However, I'm sure that the vendors have new releases and they've got you know, other things up their sleeves, I'm sure. But this is a really good rendition of, you know, just really understanding where these vendors sit in the marketplace. So there is a product called Precision Point, and Precision Point is delivering their version of a data model, basically, a reporting data model. They have come to market with a hypercube kind of approach, so it's one big cube to meet every need across all departments. You can imagine that cube is probably, you know, a lot more complex, let's just say, than Microsoft's 20 cubes. Some people might say that 20 cubes is complex because it's 20 cubes. So there's some benefits. There's pros and cons of having one big cube versus lots of cubes, different cubes. And again, that's something that you should consider as you kind of walk down this path. Do you believe in more of the hypercube approach or the multi-cube approach? Anyway, so Precision Point is more of a hypercube. They haven't really come to the table to provide anything beyond bids, which is, you know, delivered, you know, within the Microsoft BI stack. So if you've got to change their data model, you've got to add something, you've got a customization, you want to pull something in, you do it through the bids tools. And they've leveraged Excel as their reporting tool. So that's what their solution looks like. Then there's a company called Solver BI 360. You know, these guys are saying, you know something, the cubes are just they're complex, and it brings a layer of complexity that most AX customers just really aren't prepared to support. And so what they've done is they've built their data warehouse on top of just a SQL relational data warehouse. And so now, you know, you've got a small IT shop, OLAP. You know, when you start talking OLAP, you talk, you know, like bids and MDX programming language, and all that. It just opens up a whole new can of worms, so to speak. So again, Solver's like, you know, let's just stick with the SQL relational data warehouse. They've built a little bit like an Excel-based budgeting and planning tool, which feeds into their data warehouse. And then they've got an Excel add-in. And the Excel add-in, it's not shown on this picture. I wonder if I don't know if I can do this or not, but this Excel add-in actually works like this too, where you can actually, almost like an Atlas product, which I don't know if we've talked, I don't actually have Atlas on this, in this deck, which I need to add back on my next presentation. Not sure how it got removed because they used to be in the deck, but now it's gone missing. But anyway, but basically Excel, this Excel add-in not only helps you with this reporting, but it helps you from the reporting from AX. It will go right to the AX database. While we're here, I may as well just mention Atlas, which sits kind of, let's just say out here. And Atlas is kind of a connector between AX and Excel, and it's an Excel add-in. It actually works with all the Microsoft Office products, but it does some, reporting directly off the AX database. So it's not really kind of a BI, all-encompassing BI tool. Now, they do have a release 6.0 that's coming out, it's being announced next week in St. Louis, where version 6.0 is now going to be able to access really any database. Could be any database. So right now, Atlas in the older versions is really just an AX product, but in future versions, you'll be able to access other databases besides just AX, and that's in Atlas 6.0. Back to Solver 360, though, they do also have an add-in much like, again, the Atlas tool, and that tool is configured to work with their SQL data warehouse, and as well can go against the AX database. Okay, very good. Jet. All right, so Jet, a couple things on Jet. And there's only really 3 vendors in the market that actually offers a tool to kind of supplant BIDS. I think a lot of the vendors saying, BIDS and MDX programming language, it's so complex, too complex for a lot of AX customers. I'm going to come to the table with a better, a better mousetrap, so to speak. So Jet has this product called Jet Data Manager. It's their kind of data warehouse automation tool. And they have created their own version. They've got OLAP cubes. They're actually running they build their tools through, they've got a kind of a data mart, so they're using a staging data warehouse, which is also used as a reporting data warehouse. And from that staging and reporting data warehouse, they're building cubes. So they're using Excel for their reporting. So they've got some standard reporting and kind of add-ins that help you report off of the data warehouse. They also are, go ahead, Jason, forward, please. They also are partnered with Target, as you can probably see why, because Target is another product, but it's only on the reporting and delivery side. So they're doing, and I would say this is not really correct because they have really their own, they've got their own reporting tools and their own analytical tools. And they will basically, they're data warehouse agnostic, basically. They'll connect to anybody's cube, right? They'll connect to Microsoft's cubes or Target's, Jet's cube, or Precision Point's cube. They're cube agnostic. They're providing the front-end analytics, reporting and dashboarding tools. It's a pretty slick product. It's a proprietary portal, but it does integrate with Target, with SharePoint. So that is Target. So there's a couple products in the market that really are providing more of an end-to-end capability. So they're coming to the table with their own, again, their own cubes. They come together. They're getting rid of BIDS. They're saying, you know something, BIDS too complex. You need a PhD in MDX programming language to run with it, and we have a better mousetrap. So there you go. Here you've got a cube management tool in both cases to kind of supplant BIDS. One is called Cube Express. That's what Zap has, and the other I think is Halo Source. And again, you really need to, again, evaluate the tools side by side to really see the differences. There are there are definitely differences between these two vendors. Zap goes to market with more of a multi-cube approach. That's Halo. Halo goes to market with a multi-cube approach. Zap goes to market more in a hypercube approach. They both have their own reporting and dashboarding tool, and again, you kind of have to, just from a footprint perspective across the BI solution stack, I would say that they probably are most similar in terms of just coverage of the solution. But again, they're two very different solutions, and if you're looking for an end-to-end solution, I think, more of a side-by-side comparison would be, probably advised. I think, Jason, that is it. We've got about 13 minutes for questions. If you have them, please. Jason, I'm not sure how we're handling questions, but that pretty much ends the content that I had to deliver for today.
All right, thanks, Gina. Yeah, so folks in the audience can enter their questions into the Q&A block that they should see to the right of the slides. I know Gina would be happy to take some of your questions right now, and we will get that started. Gina, maybe just to start things off, in your experience, what percentage of AX customers maybe that you would start engaging with already have a data warehouse strategy in mind when they're either starting their AX implementation or starting to think about BI for AX?
Well, for customers, Jason, that don't have AX and they're just coming onto AX, I would say probably only 20% of them have an existing data warehouse in place. Let me just say 20 to 40%. Yeah, I would say 20 to 40%. Now, is that data warehouse, viable for the future? Is it what they want all the time? There's definitely a percentage of those customers that say, we really need to rethink. We need to rethink our data warehouse because although it sits here and it exists, it's not really meeting our needs, and they want to really step back and kind of reassess it.
All right. We have just a sort of a side question here. Are you going to make the slides available to the audience? And
sure,
so,
no problem. Yeah, Jason, I have no problem giving them the PDF document that
okay.
I sent to you.
Okay, great. We'll make that available in a follow-up email then. Thanks for that. Another question that came in here, another product, I guess, that wasn't in your list. Do you have any experience with BI for Dynamics as an ETL?
I do not. No, I have never even heard of BI for Dynamics. So would love to know more about it.
All right. Another person asks, they currently have AX 4.0, and they're starting BI dashboards, eventually working toward ad hoc queries. If we redeploy with 2012 R3, what % is rebuilt, and is it simply a redirect into 2013 R3?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you are a 4.0 or 2009 customer and you're not yet you haven't started an upgrade project, I would strongly recommend you build a BI data warehouse and BI dashboards. Absolutely, because I think it will really help you as you deploy or upgrade to 2012 R3. It talks about what percentage is rebuilt. Well, I mean, you're going to be basically it's a mapping exercise, right? You're going to be you'll map 2012 into the reporting structure that you have created, because your BI dashboard, again, is really separate from your enterprise ERP system. So it should really be reflective of your informational needs in your company, and the underlying ERP system shouldn't really matter. I mean, there are customers out there that they're multi-company, multi-site, 20 and 30 and 40 sites, sometimes running on, you've got JD Edwards and AX and SAP and a lot of different ERP systems, and they've got a BI enterprise data warehouse to tie it all together. So it really shouldn't matter. But I applaud that. I think that's what I would be doing. If I was a 4.0 or 2009 customer, I'd be developing a data warehouse, and that would definitely reduce the cost of my 2012 upgrade.
All right, great point. Okay, so a question on security. How is security managed in the vendor products, and is it managed separately from or connected to AX or some other option?
Yeah, coming from Connie. Hi, Connie. So every vendor is different, so it really just depends on which vendor we're talking about. If it's the AX cubes, it's managed right within AX, it's AX security. It's the AX security that we've all, grown to not be so happy with sometimes because it's very complex. Security in ERP is a different animal in my mind than security for reporting. So it's not always applicable in my mind. Some of the vendors do have disconnected. They've got their own security models, and it's more based on the needs, the reporting needs of the company versus operationally, transactionally, what one may or may not have access to. Most of them also connect into Active Directory as well, obviously, which I guess is assumed.
All right, Prakash asks, in your experience, what percentage of current AX users are using BIDS successfully?
Wow. It would be a low number, to be honest with you. BIDS is a really, although I will say what we have in 2012 and what they've done with the perspectives and the capabilities within AX has helped that a lot, because you need BIDS less, right, because of some of the capabilities that they're offering. The BIDS, honestly, there's not a lot of, as you may or may not know, you don't have a lot of skill set out there of people that are highly capable and competent with BIDS and MDX programming. Very few of our customers would have that kind of skill in-house.
All right. That looks like the end of our question queue, so we will start wrapping up here. Maybe make a final call here for folks to sneak in one last question if they have it. Excuse me. Great questions, everyone. Thanks for sort of joining in here. Well, we are going to start wrapping up. Gina, thanks again for joining us today. Great material.
You're very welcome. We'll see everybody hopefully at AX2G. I'll be there all next week, so stop by and say hello.
Absolutely. We'll see you there. And thanks to everyone in the audience. We did record today's session. We'll be making it available as well as the slides quite soon. So that concludes today's event. Thanks, and have a great day.
Thanks, Jason.